Today's deep dive, if you haven't heard, is about Double's Chrome extension. With that being said, let's go ahead and flip over to the next one, Jody, to do a quick intro of us in case these are new faces for you, or you've just seen Hughes and Strong thrown around and you're like, who the heck are these ladies? So we are systems nerds through and through. Love all things workflow systems. How does this work for you? How can we play around with a cool system like Double that allows you to have a full spectrum of I only use it for month end or I use it for my everything and it's my ride or die, right? So we're here to meet you along the way to be your little nerds and librarians to help point you in the right direction. Now, this does not mean that we know every single thing about Double or we have everything set up in our demo, right? But that means that it is our professional duty to at least shoot you in the right direction or get you one step closer. So, with that being said, that's a little bit about us. And one thing that is really, really, really important to us, there are a lot of shoulds in business. There is a whole heck of a lot of you should be doing this, or you should be growing, or you should be getting the most out of this tool. We're here to put those aside for us, first and foremost, because, man, we've been shit on a lot, but for you as well. So we're going to give you the grace and space to allow these to all be ideas that you could use, but let's not add more like weight to our shoulders of, I'm not using this right, or should be doing more in Double. We are all in our own season. We are all have different capacities. A lot of us are gearing up for kiddos to go to school or they just started school. So this is a season of transitions. This is not, we are not at least putting pressure on you to have the perfect Double because we sure as heck don't, even though we're specializing this. Okay, so we're going to give ourselves some grace and we're going to stop shooting on ourselves, at least in this call. And with that being said, we're going to answer any and all questions you have for us regarding Double, regarding this weird issue you have. I have this idea, but where can I put it in Double? And how can I get Double to work with me or for me? That being said, though, whether your question is about the deep dive topic that we have today or anything else in Double, throw it into the chat. Okay, Jody and I are both monitoring that, and we also have our lovely admin Mel on here as well. So we will get through all of the questions, comments, ideas that you guys have throughout there. But it is the worst feeling to be like, ooh, hold my nose. I have a question. And then when somebody goes, okay, what questions do you have? You're like, blank. Okay, so throw it in as you have it. Don't take it down on a sticky note. Don't forget, throw it in there and we'll cycle through those. Okay. With that being said, I think we have one more housekeeping piece and then I will stop rambling. We'll start getting into the fun stuff. Recording of today's call. So whether you need to hop off early or you want to catch and watch through something again, because we get a little bit excited and talk fast. This will be available on YouTube on Friday and in our Circle community if you want a way to watch recordings with a little bit of a little bit of blinders on so there's not as many distractions. So either way, you will be able to catch the recording of this to go back to whenever you're ready. With that being said, I think that's all of our housekeeping. Yeah, Jody, I'm going to throw it over to you to get started on the actual deep dive.
Yes, let's dive in. So today we are doing that deep dive on Double's Chrome extension, how it can help you in your day-to-day bookkeeping, and then how it also supports account reconciliations. After that, it's all open Q&A, so we can explore new features or answer any questions that you guys have about using or optimizing your Double experience. Now, for a full list of features, we do have the Double help article listed here, and we'll drop that into the chat as well. But we wanted to make sure that you had the resource as well as we're getting into this. All right, so the Double Chrome extension allows you to access features within Double from any web page. When you click on the little extension icon, this is the screen that you'll see, or the little pop-up that you'll see in the top right corner of your screen. And you can select any of your clients here. I'm going to get into those two in just a minute. This little guy, you can report a bug. So if something is not working and you want to be able to quickly tell Double, you can do that from here. You can sync your practice information there. And of course, you can always log out. when you first go to use this, or if you're trying to use it and you realize, hey, some of these buttons are grayed out, you might need to just click on your Chrome extension and log back in. So sometimes your login will time out and you'll have to redo that. You can view and edit client info from any web page. So again, all of these mean that you have access to these items from anywhere. You don't have to have double open to see it. You just have to be logged into the Chrome extension. So you can view and edit your client information. That includes all properties, details, notes, and files. With properties, you can even reorder them, delete them, or add new ones here from the Chrome extension. So this is a great way to check notes, to track additional notes as needed. This can be very versatile depending on how you are keeping up with your client info, your client information.
Exactly. And this is a really fun one to be able to like have a note that has common transaction like categories and stuff like that to add like a running log. Again, in an ideal world, we have all of this space on our computer and we have double open and we have our timer open, we have QBO open, but we're all doing a million things, right? And sometimes our little small town internet, mine, it doesn't allow for that. So I think this is really cool to be able to have anybody on the team be able to see and access those notes or quick scope check on this client. Am I doing all of these accounts or just some of them? Or even be able to go into your files. So I think this is a really cool one that gets missed a whole lot of times when we're talking about the Chrome extension. So we want to make sure and mention this first, because this can be a way that we keep track of some of those like running issues that we run into, especially if you have a new team member who's starting to work on this account or you're working on a really big cleanup. Really great way to have notes that'll sync to Double, right? Because they're in Double natively, but that we can access while we're actually working in the client's file.
Yeah. And in addition to that, non-transaction questions. You can ask these from anywhere. So that's what that add question button is here, is to add to the non-transaction section. And so you can even drop in files and everything here as well. Plus, you can, from the bank feed in QBO, you can ask transaction questions. So as you are going through the bank feed and you're categorizing and coding your transactions, if something pops up and you aren't sure what to do with it, you can use this ask client question here or button here. It is connected to that Chrome extension. Click there, add your question. Once you post that transaction to the ledger, so once you've finished processing it in the bank feed and post it, that question will automatically be applied to the client portal. Can be a huge time saver if you don't want to go back and go through like the uncat. You can ask as you go. I've seen people use this in a variety of ways. So some people do it line by line as they're going through and coding. Other people or other situations you might have is like, okay, here's a whole group of them. I can't ask a question in bulk through the Chrome extension here, but I can categorize it to something and then find all of those in Double to bulk ask the question. So you can do it either way, but this can be a shortcut process to ask a question while you're in the process of coding it. I've also
Yeah.
seen this for like, do you need a receipt? So I know how to code it, but I want to do a receipt. Or even, I think I'm coding this to the right place. I mean, I'm 95% sure this is where it goes, but I want to verify and confirm that with my client. I can go ahead and code it there, ask my question so I can get that confirmation from the client in the portal without having to throw it into an ask my client or uncategorized account.
Yep. And I've got a couple of quick notes here before we move on to the next piece. So, one, just making sure everybody's on a fair level playing field here. When we ask a transaction question to the client, that will not ping our client automatically with an email. So if you go in and you're asking a question and then you go down a couple of lines and you ask another question, or you're doing it in bulk in Double, so either way, Double does not work by sending an email each and every question you add. Either you go in and message the client when you're done with that file for the day and you send it off, or you have automatic reminders turned on so that when they have new questions, it goes out at a scheduled time and date. So just want to make sure, like they did add a little blurb for no question will be asked, but sometimes we get questions or nerves about, well, if I'm adding all of these, are they going to get pinged for each and every question I add? No. So don't worry about that. Just want to make sure everybody's on a level knowledge playing field there. The other thing I want to mention here, we have a note at the bottom, but I have run into people in the past who are like, hey, I'm asking questions as I'm going through the bank feed, but they're just not showing up in Double and my client's not answering them and I can't figure out what's going on. Make sure they're into the actual ledger, right? So whether you categorize it in the one that you think it goes into and you're asking a clarifying question, or you're using a category like ask my client or uncategorized, it has to be moved out of the bank feed for Double to be able to see it and Double to be able to ask the question or like have that drop into the client portal. So just want to make sure if you're running into an issue and you're like, I'm asking all these questions and they're not answering and I can't even see what's going on, that bank feed is locked on QBO's side. So it has to be moved out of the bank feed in order for Double to see it in the first place and therefore ask a question about it. So just want to make sure that we tackle both of those kind of like tangential questions that kind of come with this. So asking a question does not automatically email your client each and every question, and make sure that they're actually in the ledger, even if you use a category like uncategorized or ask my client to get it out of the bank feeds while you're waiting on that clarification.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah, of course.
Next up, it's account reconciliations. So the Chrome extension can assist you here as well. They can find reconciliation issues using your AI that Ask Double. Sync reconciliation reports back to Double. That's my personal favorite. And then sync balances from QBO as well. So we're going to touch base on each of these as well. We're going to go through this pretty fast so we can get to the demo because we'll do some of this live as well. So the assistance with your reconciliation. So analyze difference is what's written on the button. A lot of people refer to this as the fix this rec tool. So this button here will populate if you have the Chrome extension on or have it installed and logged in. If you are utilizing the AI bank feeds inside of Double, you will also have access to this Start Reconciling button. And this will pull information from Double and kind of automatically reconcile and help to clear any of those transactions that came through the AI bank feeds inside of Double. So that's what this button is here. We have it grayed out because we don't have a bank feed connected to the AI bank feeds in Double. So the analyze difference. Ideally, you want this to be 0 so you can finish your reconciliation and move on to the next. If you have a difference and you don't know what it is, you can click this button and it's going to use your firm's AI credits to view the bank statement, do a comparison, and then tell you a summary of what they think is the issue and kind of give you some follow-up steps. So this is a sneak peek of what that would look like. So I clicked that button. And it's going to say, let Double find out why your reconciliation is off. It'll ask you to upload that statement. And then this is the prompt that it comes up with. So it pulls in the information from QBO. It has a prompt already written in here for you. You click process, and then it's going to spit out a summary for you and say, hey, this is what it looks like. These two transactions didn't clear for deposits. These ones didn't clear according to the statement for expenses. If you unselect those, you'll get your reconciliation to zero out. Another really awesome thing about this is that at the very bottom in the corner, you can save the analysis to the task. So you can push this analysis over to Double and have that recorded as to what transpired during that reconciliation process.
I love that they added that button. It is one of my like small chef's kiss moments because there's so many times where you go through this or you're having another bookkeeper on the team go through this and you're coming in as a manager and you're like, have, How do we get here? I need show my work here. So I love that they made this really easy because previously we had to like copy and paste and add this into a note or like do some squirrely business. So this is really cool to be able to save this as like an easy click of the button to save that back to Double as well. So chef's kiss, Double team.
Yes. Now, I did not get screenshots of being able to push your reconciliation report into Double. We're going to do that live on the demo here in just a little bit. But to let you guys know, there's practice settings that will help to sync the balances. So you've got that reconciled through date, balance at end of month, and then your comparison if you want that. These are the timestamp balances. Here in your practice settings, if you are using that Chrome extension, you can pull more information into the account reconciliation section. If you have this turned off, the default, it's going to say last reconciled transaction date. So that has always been an area of confusion for people. And this gives you a workaround to, or gives you an alternative to what is written in here for you. So if you're using the Chrome extension and you come to your settings and toggle this on, then you can have that reconciled through date pulled from QBO, which is beautiful. All right, let's dive into the demo. Let's show how this works. Let me switch over to, I'm going to do this one first. So I've got my, you can see this, I can't zoom in very much for you, but up here I have my Chrome extension pinned. So if you're not familiar with how to pin an extension, you've got your extensions up here. You can do manage extensions. In the Double help article that we posted earlier, it has the links to be able to go to get your Chrome extension and download it. So that's all there in the help article. But when you have it in here, you can pin it. And that way it's always showing, which is really nice. So click on this again from anywhere and you can select your client. Now we did have a question earlier that asked, does the client have to be connected for this feature work? The answer is no. This is for all clients, connected or unconnected. You can find them in here. Now, what features are available from that depends on if they're connected or not. So if they're unconnected, you can still access their info. You can still add non-transaction questions. You're just not going to get any of the benefits within QBO if they're not connected.
Yep. So main difference there is transaction questions or the fix my rec, analyze the difference. But that's a really important question to understand. This is because this is on Chrome and not specifically on QBO, does not have to be a connected client to be able to see and access those notes or add non-transaction questions or stuff like that. So really important distinction there.
Yeah. And again, that's asking a question or accessing those client info. Here
Or
you can
the
reorder,
files. Yeah.
yep, files, delete properties, add properties. You've got all of your details here you can do. You can add notes. Erica, I was curious about this. It does not look like, and we'll put in a feature request for it. If I click add note, I can't pull from the templates. So that is one thing to keep in mind
Yeah,
right now.
I'll
We're
put
going
in a
to bring
feature
that to
request.
Double's attention, that we don't have that option to pull in a note template, which are so important. So to keep that in mind. And then you've got your files like you would see in your thing as well. Okay. Now in the bank feed, or actually when you're in QBO here, you also have at the very top the client info button on the client that you're working on. So it'll pull up that same window, but you don't have to go up here to the Double Chrome extension. It's just right here. It adds that button to top of your QBO account, and will switch account as you go through your people. So if I already know where things go, I can process that on my bank feed. But if I have questions about it, I can click to open that up. I've got the ask client question down here, and I can say, hey, what's this for? I can, oops, I didn't save it. So
Yeah. One
what's this
important thing
question
there.
for? Add question.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really
And then it'll
important
show
one, and
you.
I've seen people get caught on that one as well.
Yep.
Important distinction here. This works the same as in Double, but those like quick cells up at the top or pills, however you want to talk about them, are those like templated questions, but you can always go in and type out your question as well if it's pretty
Mhm.
specific, or if you want to be able to offer, is it this or this that's a little bit more strategic. So just know that you can still type in your question or do anything like that as well.
And you can edit it after you've put one in too. So if you edit it, you can come
Oh
down
no.
here. It does say that one question is attached. So I know I've got one ready to go. I'm going to throw this into Uncat because I'm not sure what it was for or who it was from. And then I'm going to click post so that this pushes over to the ledger. It pushes over to QBO or over to Double. And I've got a pop-up that tells me that the question was attached. And I'm just going to go ahead and post that. So when we do reconciliation, this is all cleared.
And Jody, one kind of related question while we're here. I believe the answer is yes, this works wherever you're at in QBO, but that ability to ask a transaction question is not limited to the bank feed. Like it's wherever you see that transaction that you can add a question if you've already posted it to the ledger and you find something later, correct?
No, it'll be in the bank feed. I'm going to open this up. There's no
Oh,
button in
good.
here.
Okay. Good to know.
It's only the bank feed.
Ah, good job. Sweet.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Let's look at how it helps with reconciliation. Let me grab my ending balance.
While you're setting that up, Julie, that means that if you did find an issue and you want to go back to it, that may mean that you need to go into Double and search for that transaction or find it in the report or even go into your client questions. Well, no, because you hadn't had a question yet. So I think your best bet is to go search at the very top right of that client file in Double to either find like search by vendor or amount or something like that to pull that up so that you can ask a question about it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I've got my reconciliation information in here. If I've selected everything, that's where I'm showing that difference. If I click on this, those are the screenshots that I pulled for you guys where I uploaded the statement and then it spit out this information to tell me what could possibly be incorrect about it. And then I can take steps from there. So that's the difference here.
And this is one
I'm
that
gonna,
I've heard kind of mixed reviews about. I've
mhm.
heard that it is getting better over time as the AI learns. That's just kind of the nature of the beast with AI. But one thing to know is that you can ask like follow-up questions if it seems like that difference is
Yes.
not at like I think you're missing something or this doesn't make sense or like this client has a specific use case here. So that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure and mention. Debbie, I know that you mentioned that you've gotten a lot of like inaccurate analysis info here. So I would recommend definitely keep your keeping brain on, right? But ask follow-up questions or thumbs down to let it know, hey, this was not a good response and give it some guidance or feedback for what you're noticing. So just kind of like keep your bookkeeping brain on. This, as with anything, is not a perfect model or tool and is learning continually. But definitely give it feedback or ask follow-up questions because I think that's one of the coolest things about AI is if it gives you some bunk answer, you can be like, dude, this doesn't even make sense, and help explain so that it can give you a better analysis. We don't have to just take the first answer at face value.
Yeah. And always feel open and welcome to send feedback to Double directly. They want the feedback. They want to know what's working, what's not working, so that they can continue to improve all of the features that they have here for us. Yeah. All right, so I made a few corrections so I can get my difference down to 0. We're pretending like everything's perfect now, and we're going to finish our reconciliation. When I click finish, it's going to ask me if I want to upload this to Double. And I say, yes, I do. Um, I must have, oh, here it is. So you would click on this view reconciliation report in your pop-up here. Otherwise, you can still get to it from history by account. So I'm going to click on this to open up the reconciliation report here. And then right here at the top, upload report to task. It'll ask you which close period you want to put this towards. It's always going to default to the most recent, to the latest close. And then you can go view that task if you want to, or just close this out and move on to the next reconciliation. If you close that screen, I do it all the time, that pop-up, I close it before I do my upload. You can always come back to history by account, click to the report, and upload it from here.
Oh, that's a really good workaround. I've heard a lot of people that are like, oh no, my fingers worked half a second faster than my brain and I don't know how to get back there. So
Yeah.
good call out there.
So if you're coming in from this screen, you've got that button up here at the top, history by account. You can click on that to get to all of your reports. All right. Anything
Gorgeous.
else while I'm here in QBO?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I think that's a good spot to shift over to Double. Let's definitely show that account balance just so everybody can like
Yes.
put screenshots with where it shows up on the page. And then we can definitely go to a few other
Yeah.
questions from there.
So you're going to see it's attached. This is that reconciliation report we just uploaded. So it's here. You can click to open it and review it without having to go into QBO. So this is great, especially for those that have multiple team members and you're doing things to check behind each other. You can have it all here so that the person reviewing doesn't have to bounce around between different systems, having it connected there, or any of your analysis. If you had issues with it, you can have it all in one place for them. Now, that setting that we talked about, it's going to be up here in practice management under workflows, account reconciliations, use ledger account, and timestamp if you want. I'm going to show you what this looks like with them toggled off. It shows you the last reconciled transaction date, which is not necessarily the date that you reconciled through. So this was the last reconciled transaction, it was the 19th. We all know that I just did it through the 31st. So this is where it can get kind of confusing. And sometimes the balance at month end can get a little wonky too, depending on how you had it set up. Especially like those credit cards that are partially through the month, not actually the month end. So if I come back and toggle those back on, then we'll see our reconciled date now matches. And this compared is showing off. I don't know off the top of my head why, but I could research that. Oh, it's probably that reconciliation discrepancy that I had that I ignored. So those are items that I need to go through and figure out why are they duplicates? Are they going to clear the next month? That kind of thing.
Awesome. Good mention there. I think the only other thing that's worth talking about as far as questions go while we're still in um, the Chrome extension mode and before we shift gears is are you able, I don't actually know the answer to this off the top of my head. Are you able to push that statement over to Double as well, or just the reconciliation report and
Just the
the
reconciliation report and
okay,
the
okay.
analysis.
Alrighty. So Marie, there's your answer there. So that statement, if you want
I
it in
can
Double,
see
maybe something that you add to either
here.
files, because
I'll
you could
save
do
this and
that
we'll
while
see
you're
what it
in.
looks like because I
Yeah,
haven't
that'd be
tested
really
this
good.
to see if it pulls it over. All right, I pushed that to see if it pulls that statement. Let me. Oh.
Adds it to a comment.
Nope, it just opens it as here. So you would have it. Wait, nope. To open it though. So I would say no. The answer to that is no. It's not going to pull the statement over.
Yeah. Good question there, Marie. And that's
Yes,
something that we
excellent
might be
question.
able to add a feature request for. Because that would be really nice to be able, if you added it
Yes.
over there, it would be really nice for to not have to go back into Double and add it over here as well. So that's something I can put a little feature request in for.
Yeah. And the report doesn't show the attached statement either. So
Okay. Awesome.
Nope.
That's all the questions that I've seen on um, Chrome extension. Feel free to throw any other ones in here. But let's go ahead and open it up to like other questions outside. So, Jody, first question for you outside of Chrome extension is um, if somebody's offboarding a client, the specific question was, how do I export, or is it possible to export all of the client responses to the questions before I offboard them? So can we do a quick little investigation on that one? That may need to be a feature request.
Give me a minute. I gotta jog my memory here. So we do have export to CSV
Perfect.
for both, for all of them actually. So for all of them. And that should download started. Let me see what it looks like. On anywhere in Double, keep an eye out for this button here. This little download button, export to CSV. And that's going to be your ticket for anything that you're wanting to pull out there. Okay, so it's just a CSV, which means it's not very pretty. But it does show you the data asked, the question, and then the client feedback if that came through. And this is our demo account, so we don't have that much in here. It's also going to show you the status of whether it's open or closed. So that looks to be like what we'll pull from it is the date asked, the question, and then the client feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would
So
say go ahead and test that out to see if it gives you the information that you're looking for.
exactly. So that's how I would go about this. Julie, if I was trying to offboard and save save that. The other thing I want to mention, not everybody does this. There may be specific reasons that you don't, but just so everybody's a fair level playing field, you can also archive a client in Double if you want to be able to retain all of that info on your tasks, on the client responses, on any comment, on any like notes and comments and things like that without having them stay connected and being charged over and over again. So that's one that's worth mentioning as well. You can absolutely just export all of that, including files and questions and things like that. But if you want to be able to still have access or that paper trail, you can go ahead and just archive that client. So Jody's showing that on the client list, on the left-hand side, you click that little arrow, and then down on client options, you can archive. So this helps it like essentially pauses the connection. You can still go in and see everything, previous history, things like that. They're no longer charged, and extra bonus is that you could go and reactivate this client if they ever came back as well. So just kind of wanted to make sure we're talking about that as well as how to export so that you're armed with however you want to tackle this, whether you're exporting and then you're deleting the client completely, or if you are actually going in and just archiving so that you don't have to do those extra steps.
I do believe so. This was originally an unconnected client to begin with, so they never had transaction questions.
Mhm.
But once that connection is severed, you won't have transaction questions anymore. In
Oh, because
theory,
the
I would hope that
connection,
you would,
yep.
yeah, I would hope that we recommend pushing all of their responses into QBO or Zero, like whatever ledger you're using, to push all that information there so it's saved within the ledger. Then you wouldn't need that backup here, um, unless you're looking for that back and forth. So that would be a use case where you may want to export the transaction questions back and forth
Mm.
before archiving and maybe save that as a note or upload it as a file within here, so that you have access to it at a later date. But that's just one key
Absolutely.
thing to note is that the transaction questions may not still be there.
Yep. And Jody, do we have any transaction questions in this demo in like Growth Custom that we might be able to show how to add that to the memo really quickly?
We could check. I might not,
Loading,
but
loading, loading.
okay. So this question here, had they answered? I
Yeah,
can
you
still
can
show
see
it
it
to you.
underneath.
There's just not an answer here. So had they answered, I would see my client's answer, and then I can click this button that says add to memo, and that will add it to the memo of the transaction. So that is pushing it to QBO or zero, I think. So that. And if you're working in bulk, so say you have a lot of questions out to your clients, you can use that to select, come to set description, and then you can bulk add client responses to the memo there. So
Yep, they've just
another
added
area
that
where you
feature to
can
be
do
able
that in
to do
bulk.
that in bulk. And that was one of the things that I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's fancy. No more one by one by one by one. Like, no, thank you. Um, okay, cool. Thank you for answering that. While
It
we're
is only going to let you do it once. Just want to throw that out there. So when you do
add it
click
to the
this,
memo
yeah,
once.
Julie, just let you know, it'll only let you do this once. So if you're going back and forth with a client, it's only going to upload either the
The
first time you
last.
click on it, whatever that response was, or the last response that they did. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
You can
good
always
call out
edit
there.
that here afterwards and add the full full conversation if you wanted to.
Yep, good call out there. While we're in kind of the same one before we move on to like a completely new question, Debbie had a question about if you have clients on a quarterly or annual close basis, is there an easy way to disconnect and reconnect without archiving? So let's answer this a couple of different, or let's add a couple of pieces of context. So, disconnecting and reconnecting them outside of archiving them is something that you have to go through double support and ask to disconnect or reconnect them if you have already like archived them or if you have disconnected them. So, no quote easy way to do that other than going through double support. The other thing that I want to mention with this question is there is the option to do a quarterly close here in Double. Now, you will still be charged every month that they are connected. So if you're trying to get around like the actual fee structure, then disconnecting and reconnecting them through chat may be the best way to do that. But just wanted to make sure let's take that tangent just in case anybody didn't know that you could do quarterly clients. So do you mind demoing that really quick, Jody?
Yeah. So it's going to be underneath practice settings. You're going to come to all client settings. And here you have a column for quarterly. So you have to check them off in here for it to be able to flag it as a quarterly client. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for Bad Hair Day Salon and Spa. And then when I come back, well, I can even just come to their account in here. And it's going to show me Q1 and Q2 now. The first time you do this, like it's still going to show you that it's January 26th up here. Let me go back out to the thing and see if it says Q1 or if it still says January. It might still say January. Go back out. Yeah, it still says January. But I can start the Q2 close or I can update it and go in and like undo it, redo it to get it to say Q1. But that is so the cadence will be a quarterly basis instead of coming up every month. So instead of being reminded every month, hey, do you want to start the next month close? You'll only get that notification on a quarterly basis here. And if I create that, then you're going to see in your close, it's going to be Q2 instead of a month. But the actual details in your close area are all going to be the same. They all function the same way. It's just the cadence in which the close repeats.
Yeah, so if you were to go up to the very top and start the next close, it would prompt you for the next quarter instead of the next month. And then your due dates will automatically follow the like quarterly cadence instead of the monthly.
Hmm.
So that's your biggest differences there.
Yeah.
Your fee structure is still the same that you're charged per month because they are still connected every month. But that's your biggest differences there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It should be an option now when you are, yep, when you're adding a new client for the first time, if you already know that they're quarterly, go ahead and switch to quarterly here before you add them.
Yeah,
That way you won't get that wonky, oh, I've got
they have one
one
monthly and
random
then the
month, and
rest
then
of
you
them
have
are
to
quarterly.
manually
Yeah.
correct it. Yeah. So you can, when you're adding them, if you know they're a quarterly client, you can do that. Or that could be your default and you switch to monthly when you know that it's a monthly client. Either way.
Um,
But gives you that option here now too.
Yeah, good call out. The other thing I want to mention is just in case we do run into that issue where you switch them to quarterly later and then you have one monthly, can we quickly show how to delete that single close from the
Yeah.
client list?
So again, you're going to use that drop down here and you're going to find the one that you had open. I think, let me see. If I choose this, it should give me Q1. Let's test it. Oh, it opened it. I didn't want it to open it. Okay. Yep. So now I've got Q1 and I have this random January. I'm going to update this one to be the onboarding that we know is happening. And then I need to scroll over all the way to the end to hit delete. And then I can delete this close that I do not need. I'll refresh again. And then when I look, I only have Q1 and Q2.
Exactly. Um, You're not missing anything if you're looking for a bulk option to delete closes. So if you're like, there's got to be a better way, there is not quite yet. So that is your process. If I know, Kate, I think many of us have been in the situation where we forget to turn on quarterly for multiple clients, and then you have to go back through each and every one. So just letting you know, you're not missing a button there. That is an individual closes that you need to
Yep.
delete and then let it refresh and do the same thing. So that's, I will look for a feature request out there for deleting multiple closes. But until then, just know that that is the process. There's not an alternative to that at this point.
Yeah. And when you are selecting those, so I don't know if anybody picked up on it when I was testing it out, but select closes, even though this is a quarterly client, it's not showing it to me in quarters. It's still showing me the month, right? So you would just take the last month of that quarter, and that will be your Q1 and then Q2 and then so on. So if I go back to here, I'm going to have the option for every single month here. Um, but I would just choose the last
Interesting.
month of the period.
Yeah. And last one on this kind of train of thought, then we'll switch gears over to the slides for 2 seconds and come back to any other questions that we have. I know we have a handful left still. Kate, you did not miss an annual close option. That one's not an option yet. We do have quarterly or monthly as our options thus far. There is a very common feature request for annual closes that does not exist yet.
Or
So
custom
the
projects. Both of those are very popular requests.
Exactly, exactly. So the two workarounds I've seen on that are to set them up as a like tax client potentially. I've seen some people do the workaround that way. Or I have seen people create a close for either January or December of that year, and then your next close that you start is January or December for the next year. So
Yeah.
those are your kind of two workarounds, but you're not missing like the drop down for annual. It just doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. The December close or the Q4 close is the one that I see most often
Hmm.
because remember, Double's pulling 12 months worth of data. So
Yeah.
if you're pulling it through December 31st, you're going to get January 1st to December 31st. You're going to see that whole year. Um,
Oh,
just adjust that for somebody who has a fiscal year that starts differently. Just whatever the fiscal
the
year
last month of
end
that
date
fiscal.
is, have that be the only close that you open, and you'll just have to ignore all the pop-ups that say, do you want to start the next one? Do you want to start the next?
Mhm. Mhm. Alrighty, so Jody, let's switch over to slides really quickly, just in case anybody needs to hop off, and then we'll pop back over to questions.
I'm
So
excited
next
about next
month,
month.
yeah, we kind of giggled to ourselves about this one. So next month we're doing sending out an SOS, which of course that song played in my head immediately as I read it. So with that, we're talking all about where to go for help with double. That may seem like a very simple 5-minute topic, but it is a like heck of an iceberg of do I go to chat? Do I go to us? Do I go to the Facebook group? Where the heck do I go for the best way to answer this question or get help with this specific thing? So we're gonna unpack the iceberg of how to get help with double next month, middle of September. And then next up, we have some free resources. So our monthly Q&As every month, done like clockwork. If you want to go back to any previous topics that we have, those are all available on either our YouTube channel or I did mention our Circle community. That's a brand new one for us, but it is a way to kind of put your blinders on, just focus on double content without all of the distractions or the spammy messages or the rabbit holes of something else. We've also got some additional resources like fun PDFs and stuff like that that are all free on there as well. So those are if you want more free breadcrumb trails. And then from there, if we have opened a rabbit hole or you have a growing list of things that you want help with in Double, we do specialize in Double and have a whole team here ready to help you, whether that is just wanting some team training or a brainstorm call, all the way to ladies, y'all are awesome. I want to give the vision of what I want and all the client info, but I don't want to be in charge of the actual setup and all of the clicks. So full spectrum here, able to help you wherever you're at on your journey with that. So feel free to reach out to us at hughesandstrong.com/contact. You'll get directly to my desk and then I'll shoot you whichever way that you might be the most helpful for you. Okay, so feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions about double or need some more help on that side. That being said, ready for the next question? Looks like you've got our
Sure.
demo all
Because
set
we've got technical difficulties over here, things
up.
moving around. What's our
That's
next
all right.
question?
All good, all good. Our next question was, let me get back there. I had this queued up and then I got distracted. Do, 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 do. Okay. Debbie asked a question about she's nervous about connecting bank feeds in Double. So most important things to be aware of here. So just kind of an overview summary. Um, I will do kind of my quick spiel about double bank feeds. We'll put in a quick like asterisk of feel free to reach out to us and we can have a more full conversation about this. But in general, double bank feeds is an alternative to QBO bank feeds. So you wouldn't use both. Um, if in doubt, and if you want to try this out, I would recommend with 1 or 2 clients, you can definitely try it out with your own business first. So kind of dip your feet in and see if you like it. Um, Big pros here. This breaks up your transactions or your bank feed into different categories. So this can be really like helpful for those, hey, these are high confidence, these are always the same. So it takes the least amount of effort to go through these to match them, to call them good. These ones have medium confidence. Sometimes they're this category, sometimes they're this category. So here's what we recommend, but definitely click on your bookkeeping brain a little bit more. And then low confidence. So different structure of how you're going to go through the bank feeds. I've seen a lot of people who have a bigger team who really like this structure because their junior bookkeepers can go through high and medium confidence, and then they may have a senior that goes into low confidence, or their team works together on the low confidence. So that structure, some people love it, some people absolutely don't, right? So that's one of the biggest, like, decisive aspects to double bank feeds. The other thing that I will say is that um, this can be helpful if you are if you find yourself having to ask a client for that two-factor code and you're waiting on them and they miss it and you have to go back and you're trying to go through that troubleshooting to reconnect an account. The way that Double approaches this instead of having that two-factor authentication is it actually sends a request through the client portal. Hey, this account got disconnected, Mr. Joe client. Please go reconnect it. And all they do is go through and log in to their bank account. It reconnects. Okay, so it's on their own time. Um, that can be really helpful. That is not the best option for a client who refuses to get into the portal in the first place. Okay, so that's the only way to reconnect those. So that's one of the things that I've seen be kind of divisive as well, is if that client's not in, like, refuses to go into the client portal, this is not going to be a good option. Um, so kind of high important things to know there. Happy to have a more full conversation about that, Debbie. But Jody, is there anything else that you want to kind of pop in here as far as like high level?
Sorry, I was trying to get you a visual for some of
You're
this.
good.
Had to go into an old account. Um, so this kind of gives you a look, a sneak peek on what that would look like. So as you mentioned, having some matches, some rules, high confidence, medium confidence, that's what it's going to look like. It breaks it up. In theory, this is going to help you to go through it faster. That's the pro there. And you can click in to do all sorts of stuff directly, and it feeds back to the general ledger. One other pro piece, and you might have said this, and I was distracted trying to pull this up, but you can ask questions directly from the bank feed here without posting it. That's a key difference between QBO or Zero and here. So with QBO, you can ask a question using that Chrome extension. You have to post it in order for that question to get added to the bank or added to the client portal. If you're using this feature, then you can ask a question in here and it adds it to the client portal. Apply, add to the client portal. I don't have to post it yet. It can sit here on my bank feed and I can have that request, that question here under bank feed questions to my client. This is posted transactions, ones that have already been applied and they're on the ledger. This one's pending. So that is a big, big difference between
Mm.
the two
No, that's a good mention.
ways of processing the bank feeds.
That also does mean that you can have internal dialogue between you and your team members
Yes.
via comments while it's still in the banking as well.
Yep.
So I think those are a couple of key differences.
But there's
Um,
still rules, there's still matches. You can split them, you
yeah,
can exclude them. There's a lot of similarities here. But those would be
absolutely.
like that's a big
Kind of
one.
high level for sure. Debbie, you're absolutely right that you would disconnect the bank feeds in QBO so that you're not seeing both at the same
Yeah.
time and they're not kind of operating together
I don't know that it matters if you do one before you do the other.
first.
Yeah, you might have a little bit of overlap. Once you start seeing that overlap, disconnect it. But if you waited, then you'll make sure that you're not missing anything too.
Yeah, exactly. So
But you
it's
can
not
do it either
inherently a
way.
you have to
Yeah.
do this first before setting up double bank feeds, but those actions need to happen at some point so that you're not seeing duplicates or so your client isn't seeing a whole host of bank feeds that looks like you're not working. So good mention there.
One quick note, if you see this bank feeds tab, but you're not using them and it gets confusing or you want to hide that, come up to your practice settings, go to statements and reporting, and you can disable that. And it will remove that from it. So you won't even see the tab anymore. So
Yeah,
if it's
that's a
not a
really good
feature you're
mention.
using and you don't want to see it, you can hide it.
Or if you're getting questions because your team keeps seeing the tab and there's nothing in it, another good mention there.
But if you were
Awesome.
using it and you have questions in there, that will still show up.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. That's funny. Okay. We are getting close on time, so if anybody needs to hop, you're more than welcome to. But the Katrina quick question. I have not seen the ability to remove the
No,
accruals tab in the same way. I'll see if I can put
no.
in a feature request for that.
I'm pretty sure there is a feature request somewhere out there, but
Yeah,
no,
I'll
there's
find
not
it
a
so we can
button for
all
that yet.
upvote. Because that would be lovely. I've seen a lot of questions about that. So Katrina, you're not missing anything on that front. And then the last question that I see in here from Kate, I lost it again. 2 seconds here. Oh, Jody, we might have to do a little bit of troubleshooting on this one, which is why I saved it to the end. So in the analyze difference, when we were in QBO, the good and bad response buttons. One, what does that actually tangibly do? Like, let's hit bad response really quickly. Okay, so you're giving feedback, you're providing. Okay, so that kind of gives feedback to the model.
Good
Um,
response just says good response.
okay, and
Bad
then
response prompts for more information.
okay, good to know. And then we may not be able to test this one, but let's see. So if we hit the bad response, does this I'm curious ultimately if the entire conversation is saved, like that bad response is also saved. I would assume that it's going to show the whole chat log,
I know.
including that bad response. I can't imagine a world where it removes that, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of my things. I'm sorry to butt
no, go
in, but
ahead. Yeah,
that's
No,
one of
feel
my
free.
things because I have looked at that and I'm like, okay, I want it to continue this type of response. I like this, or I don't like that, and I've gotten like, so you're aware this your whole chat is then shared with the team, with whoever your model is. And I actually just put it into Claude and it popped up with like, it's like, okay, when I do a comment like that, it does say that it would be oh, let me actually read it. It says it is shared and stored on Anthropic's in their secured in the back end
mhm.
information. This and practical notes, it says this happens even if you have training models turned off for your account. If you're on the Teams or Enterprise plan, the admin it's got a lot of sensitive information, and which we're talking like the bank transactions. So
Yeah.
that's why I was
Mm.
wondering if double, if it's just following whatever the model is.
Yeah, that's a good one that I'll follow up with the team on. I know that they're doing a whole lot on the AI side and wanting to make
Okay.
this as secure as possible and just kind of figuring out what those areas of concern are. So I can't promise any immediate fixes, but Kate, that's a really good one that I'll pass back to the team as a pretty big red yellow flag.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for adding context there. I know it's always nerve-wracking
Yes.
to pop in and be like, hey, I don't want to interrupt. No, you were perfect.
Yeah.
So
It
thanks for
just is
adding that
very, yeah,
context
it's
there.
very nuanced right there.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, great one. Great one. Well, with that, that is the last question I see, and we could talk about double all day. So I'm going to respectfully cut it there if we have no other questions, so we don't take up everybody's day. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, whether they're a tiny question, you need help, you're not sure what you need, you're just lost. All the above is fair game. We'll meet you where you're at, or enjoy some free resources if you want to go deeper into double. So with that, everybody have a lovely rest of your day, a good rest of the month. Hang in there for any mamas who are waiting for school to start or have just crossed that threshold. And then we will see you next month. See ya, everybody.